Hey, good morning, Beulah Church. It's Gabe here, and I'm so happy to be here for another Monday morning devotion with you all. If you're watching this morning with me right now as I'm live, or if you are tuning in later this week, then either way, I'm stoked that you're watching. So thank you so much for tuning in. This morning, I wanted to share something out of the Gospel of Mark, which is I think I mentioned that like almost every passage that I talk about is my favorite, but the Gospel of Mark I think really is my favorite gospel out of the four. There's something about his intensity and the way that he wrote and his sort of like straightforwardness with all of it. But in this very first verse, I'm literally only going to talk about the first verse of the Gospel of Mark today, where he says, the beginning of the good news about Jesus the Messiah, the Son of God. All he says is the beginning of the good news about Jesus the Messiah, the Son of God. And so essentially, Mark lets you know what this is going to be about. But if we dig just a little bit deeper here, and if we look into this just a little bit more, and begin to understand a little bit more about the context of the culture of what's going on at this particular time, then this will mean so much more to us. So I want to explain for a second. In this particular time, when Mark wrote the gospel of when this gospel was written and passed around mainly, it was about 70 AD. And one thing that was going on in 70 AD was that Jews were being essentially run out again by somebody in there, by like a neighboring people, and it was the Romans at this particular time. And the Romans were running out the Jews. They were the Roman Empire or somewhere in Rome had just lit on fire. And they thought that the Jews had done it, and so basically they were essentially persecuting Jewish Christians. They were persecuting the Christians of the day, and so a lot of Christians were going into jail. A lot of Christians were going into into this really intense persecution, getting killed, all this kind of stuff. But Mark says in the beginning of that, the beginning of the good news. So even though you are getting persecuted, even though you're getting killed, even though like there's, even though like it appears that our whole governmental system that's around us is completely against us right now, here is some good news. Now, also another really interesting tidbit about this that I recently learned from a friend is that after Rome would win a war, what they would do is they would send out what they would almost call them evangelists, and they would be told to share the good news that they had just won a war. And so it would, after the war, essentially whatever would be conquered, the Roman Empire or the Roman leader at the time would send out people to share the good news. And so Mark chose his words very carefully here. He said the beginning of the good news. He's like, what Rome thinks is good news, is nothing compared to the good news that we have in Jesus Christ and in what's going on here. So just wanted to share a little bit of that tidbit here. So Mark says, the beginning of the good news about Jesus as Messiah, the Son of God. And so Mark he's communicating with a people, he's communicating with a persecuted people, a discouraged people, and he says there is good news. And it's even this little verse, it shares just like that really small sort of tidbit about the gospel. And I want to encourage you today, Beulah, that, as things are starting to open up and things are starting to get a little bit better, things are starting to kind of slowly but surely definitely move in the right direction out of our sort of pandemic time into what might be a little bit more of a normal time, or definitely will be more normal than previously. But there is good news regardless, and there always has been good news. Even at this time last year, there was good news. You know, Jesus Christ came, lived, died for us, rose from the dead, and provides for us a way. And so I want to encourage you all this morning that even in the midst of trouble, even in the midst of stuff that's going on in our lives that maybe we won't share on Facebook, maybe we won't talk about it openly in the hallways of Beulah, there is good news. You know, for the Jewish Christians of the day, they were being thrown into prison, but Mark wanted to exclaim to them that the good news was sort of his priority of sharing, you know, in that first sentence of his gospel. And so I just want to say thank you all for listening. A little bit of good news for us is that our community garden has been planted. We have 5 beds down on the soccer field. 5 of them have plants in them already that are members of the community. And I just talked with 2 people yesterday. So we have 7 beds that are taken, which means there are 3 beds left. So if you want a garden bed in the community garden, if you want to plant peppers, if you want to plant tomatoes, if you want to plant all that stuff, I need to know like today probably, because I will definitely hear about other members of the community. I will hear about other people in the church. So please do let me know if you want to be involved with the community garden. We will have 3 beds available, 3 spaces for you essentially, or you could even go in with a friend. You guys could share a bed, you know, something like that. So anyway, really appreciate you all listening. Come down to the soccer field at some point this week and check it out. I think it's awesome. You would be encouraged if you got to see it. So anyway, blessings. I will see you all next week.